You want me to put that on my todger?
This One's Wife. The End of Brand Sussex. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Martin Robinson queries whether it is the beginning of the end for Brand Sussex, as he writes in the Mail. This One's Wife and Prince Harry's Hollywood comeback. Well, you'd have to have been there first for there to be a comeback, and she's never been a member of Hollywood, but nevertheless, this comeback is described as already being in jeopardy because executives have had enough of them, and the royal family has played a blinder by ignoring their negative attacks, Britain's leading PR guru has claimed. Indeed, it is the case that the royal family has played a blinder by ignoring the negative attacks. Expertly advised, they understand that the most effective way to deal with the narcissist that is this one's wife, and the fact that she is able to control this one, is simply to give her nothing. This is the standard operating procedure when it comes to a narcissist, the implementation of no contact. The concept of no contact is much wider than many people realise. Plenty of people think they're in no contact and they are not. For some people, it takes considerable effort to implement it and to maintain it. Nevertheless, no contact is the most effective thing to implement with our kind. We hate it. It starves us as fuel, and it wounds us, threatening our need for control, and causing us to either try harder to bring you under control, or shift to an alternative method of control, which essentially means you become left alone. How long that period of being left alone lasts depends very much on your no-contact regime and the narcissist in question. But done properly and effectively, it invariably leads to a peaceful existence for you and forcing the narcissist to go elsewhere. This one's wife is desperate for validation and a response from the royal family. Her narcissism craves it, nay, demands it, in order to validate her existence, to make her feel powerful. And the more that they ignore her, the more that it infuriates her as she becomes wounded. The more that her narcissism tries to get them to acknowledge her, and the repeated instances of simply ignoring her, not setting her straight, not attacking her, not correcting her, but simply ignoring her is the most effective thing that can be done. And the royal family has done it to perfection, thus causing repeated instances of the ignition of heated fury in Monty Shitshow with this one's wife. The fact that they have not responded, that they have not shown irritation, fear, anxiety, annoyance, whatever it might be, they have invalidated her. It is as if she does not exist, and that is what she feels until such time as her narcissism kicks in to rescue her from it. The Duchess of Sussex recently signed with WME mega agent Ari Emanuel, whose clients include Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Serena Williams, and other A-listers. But WME is reportedly having second thoughts. This one's wife also appeared on the red carpet at Variety's Power of Women event, where she teased exciting new projects for her and Harry, future faking. She also sat with two of LA's most powerful women, one working for the Oscars and another high up at Universal Studios. But Mark Bukowski, one of Britain's most experienced crisis managers, has said he believes that Omid Scobie's Bell Endgame and the royal race row it sparked has backfired spectacularly for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. I agree. I have detailed in parts passim how this has backfired in relation to the aims of this one's wife. The PR expert is also convinced that the farrago over the Dutch translation naming King Charles and Kate was clearly a publicity stunt, and I suppose who would better know than a PR guru? although, of course, this is a claim that Scobie denies. Mr. Borkowski has said that This One's Wife's Hollywood relaunch is clearly not working. He claims that her new talent agency, WME, may be considering dropping her after less than 6 months, amid signs the Hollywood machine has probably had enough of them. And this is the repeated problem that This One's Wife has had. 1. She has no talent. She's got nothing to offer. 2. She has no charisma. 3. Because of her narcissism, she tells the agency what she wants and they're expected to go and get it. 4. Because of her narcissism, when she is told that she ought to do something, it will be seen as a threat to control, and therefore her narcissism causes her to reject it. 5. She believes that she knows better than anybody else, again driven by her narcissism. Accordingly, she is the nightmare client. Unable to take direction, thinking she knows better than the people that she has instructed, who are the experts, and with nothing to offer, she is that turd that just cannot be polished. Mr. Borkowski told Mail Online, "Something is beginning to unwind at the heart of This One's Wife and Harry. I think 2024 is going to be seismic, either because they're going to do something to recover and find a new positive tactic, or it's going to be the undoing of the brand. It can only go one of two ways. I can't stay where it is at the moment because it's clearly not working." He said the couple's brand could be finished in the next year because they are viewed so negatively, in part because of the dignified silence from the royal family in the face of constant attacks by the Sussexes and their allies. He said, "We've seen countless appearances of This One's Wife on red carpets. The story of her being back in play in Hollywood is all about This One's Wife trying to return to her own turf and being available for work and getting back to Hollywood. But I would suggest they are getting perhaps conveniently left behind by the Hollywood machine, who have probably had enough of them and enough of the negativity. They're hinting their big plans ahead, but we've heard that all before, so they have to deliver something now." On rumours WME might drop This One's Wife, he said, "I suspect this is in fact true. It just shows that the constant erosion of the institution is not working." Indeed, it is not. Her narcissism compels her, through the necessity of asserting control, to repeatedly smear the royal family. That gets her the control that her narcissism craves, but the collateral consequence is that people just look upon it and think, gosh, give it a rest. Whining as usual, playing the victim. It's tedious. Furthermore, so many people see her for what she is. Either they recognize that she is now, or recognize now that she is a narcissist, or that they at least see that she's a grasping, social climbing in for herself individual, so that whatever she does is interpreted through that lens. That they see that where she turns up at an event, she's just doing it in order to publicise herself. Where she turns up at a charitable event, people know she's not really interested in the charity. It's just about making her look good. And therefore, as a consequence of her own behaviours, she has tainted the brand so much that everything she does is immediately regarded with absolute cynicism. Brand and culture expert Nick Eade explained that Belle Endgame could be as dangerous for her career as Spare, her husband's memoir, was for Prince Harry, claiming her representatives in Los Angeles will be worried she has tarnished her reputation and could potentially damage the reputation of her agency. Mr. Eade believes that This One's Wife could soon become too hot to handle after 2 members of Harry's family were named as being at the centre of the race row allegations in a Dutch version of the book. He also claimed that the silence from the Sussexes since the book came out makes This One's Wife look guilty by association, despite vehement claims by Mr. Scobie, who was an ally of the actress, and her friends that she had nothing to do with the book, which, of course, a child would recognise that she has. Mr. Eade said, "The book written by Omid Scobie is potentially a career incendiary device for This One's Wife. Just as Harry's own goal of a book has proved for him, the new book by Scobie, unfortunately, has fueled a fire which many had thought would die down. The issue for a huge Hollywood agent is that they will find it hard to navigate the career of This One's Wife, fearing that more will come out over time, and that with court cases looming from her sister and potentially her father, She has tarnished her reputation and could potentially damage the reputation of her agency. He added, "This one's wife in the right hand is a superpower, the world's most famous woman, and on paper she could make millions for herself and for whomever represents her. But she's proving to be too hot to handle. And even though she hasn't said anything about the book, she's guilty by association. This is damaging for her and others as she plots her next career move." The New York Post has reported claims that WME has been left horrified about the potential damage Mr. Scobie's book may have done to the Sussexes' rebrand. WME are exasperated by the never-ending scandal surrounding the Sussexes. The fact is, this all stems from her narcissism. The necessity of seeking control and fuel, which her narcissism obtains repeatedly, results in these collateral consequences, so that she is regarded by so many people unfavourably, and that the agency now recognises she's too difficult to actually work with, and what they've actually got to work with is nothing of particular use. She has no abilities, no talent, and even if she were able to behave herself, which she can't, they find themselves thinking, if she was brilliant at certain things, some of these behaviours would get ignored in the way that they do, for instance, with someone who's a diva. They're a brilliant performer. They get bums on seats and everybody knows that they're hard to deal with, but you put up with that because they always deliver fantastic performances and they're hugely popular. But with her, there's no talent, there's no charisma, there's no popularity, and she's difficult to work with. Other than the fact that they're being paid by her, there would be no reason to want to work with her whatsoever because she's a complete bum steer. And it would appear to me that it's not just the case that the brand Sussex might fold, it already has. And that is hugely problematic for a narcissist such as this one's wife, because it will threaten her sense of control as she circles the plug hole, that she hasn't got the popularity that she believes she is entitled to, that the money will start to dry up because the deals won't come through, and because of her need for control, she keeps spending to try and bolster that popularity, but she may as well strap that money to a horse and set fire to it. Her brand is already dead as a consequence of her inherent dislikability and what has happened in relation to Bell Endgame. And that downward spiral has just accelerated a little more. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.